return to base. Sutcliffe, his head on a swivel, is the first to spot the danger lurking above.
I turned back to take a look. Out of the clouds came a whole gaggle, they call them, a bunch of black things. I thought it looked like a bunch of rats coming out of the clouds in back of us.
No less than 40 ME-109s are descending on the 4 Thunderbolts.
Squadron commander's still on the radio, talking to us about looking for targets. He's yakking away, and these ME-109s are coming up on us pretty quickly. I'm hollering to the squadron commander, saying, "Break left, Colonel, break left."
The ME-109s open fire just as Sutcliffe's frantic calls get through.
When he heard me, he broke. He pulled up. I pulled up with him.
The Thunderbolts are split up in the frenzy. Sutcliffe squeezes off a burst as a German moves through his windscreen. Some of his 50 caliber rounds strike home.
Squadron commander hollered, "There's too damn many of these guys. Let's get out of here. Get in the clouds." Got a paddle prop, which was the latest. The paddle prop was really a benefit in climbing.
The wider paddle propeller scoops more air with each rotation, improving the Jug's rate of climb.
Get all the perks with the PF Black Card for $1 down at $24.99 a month.
John Hessler and Element Lee Marv Roswell easily reach the clouds, but George Sutcliffe and Robert Bechtold are left behind. The 2 Americans are vastly outnumbered. 2 Jugs versus 40 ME-109s. The ME-109 was the most produced fighter of the war. It was equipped with 2 13mm machine guns and 1 20mm cannon mounted in the prop hub. The ME-109 turns better, but the P-47 is tougher and heavier, giving it the edge in a dive, but making it slower than the 109 in a climb. Sutcliffe is here. There are too many 109s on all sides of him to make a break for the clouds. He'll try to blast out of the furball and dive for safety.
I figured I'm going to need everything I've got here. I just pushed the throttle, and I hit the button for the water injection. And that plane just took right off. It was moving pretty good.
Water injection was widely used during World War II. A limited quantity of water methanol mixture could be injected into the engine cylinders for cooling purposes.
The Jug's engine howls as he barrels through the furball.
I just put my head down, I got down in the cockpit to make myself as small a target as I could. I can remember just peeking over that gun. I'm going into this bunch of 109s.
Sutcliffe fires at anything that crosses his flight path. Then pitches down in a steep dive. But he can't shake 2 Messerschmitts that stay on his tail.
They were gaining on me. So in my mind, I say, this is stupid. I can't get away this way.
There's not enough altitude for Sutcliffe to dive away from the ME-109s. His mind races.
Someone had indicated that the 109 does not turn as well to the right as it does to the left. I don't know where that came from, but it stuck in my mind. So I started a tight right-hand spiral going up to try to get in the clouds.
Hey, D, you work here?
Whatever, kid.
Every shoe for every athlete, only at Dick's.
Ned's excited for his big date, but he's wondering.
The tight defensive spiral will prevent the Messerschmitts from putting their gun sights on the Thunderbolt. But Sutcliffe will lose airspeed in the climb, threatening a stall before he reaches the clouds. Sutcliffe pulls hard while hitting right rudder. The Thunderbolt responds smartly. The 109s break off their attack. While in the spiral, Sutcliffe spots the only other Jug still in the fight. Robert Bechtold.
I saw him, he had a 109 on his tail, and he was getting hit pretty good. And he started to burn, and he bailed out.
Now alone and close to stalling, Sutcliffe releases back pressure and levels the wings. There are 20 Messerschmitts orbiting 1,500 feet above him, preventing his run for the clouds.
They did get organized, and they had two what we call Luftberries right under the cloud cover, the bottom of the clouds.
The Germans have formed two counter-rotating Luftberry circles at 2,000 feet. If Sutcliffe tries to run in any direction, they can easily dive onto his tail and shoot him down. Sutcliffe knows his options are few.
I just didn't have enough power to get that 2,000 feet into the cloud layer.
The Germans circle overhead. They're hunting as a pack, waiting for their prey to weaken. A grueling battle is about to unfold. June 14, 1944. P-47 Thunderbolt pilot George Sutcliffe is outnumbered and trapped at low level. At least 20 Messerschmitts are blocking his means of escape. A cloud base at 2,000 feet. As Sutcliffe's mind races through his options, a single Me-109 drops from the Luftberry to make a pass.
Get all the perks with the PF Black Card for $1 down and $24.99 a month.
Sparkle is here to save the day and save you money.
Sutcliffe is here. The 109 is here. Sutcliffe's best option is to make a sudden snap roll to dive for the deck and throw the 109 off his tail.
I waited and waited in the last split second. I'm sure he was going to go right through me.
Sutcliffe rolls. Cannon shells rip into his left wing.
I'm going for the deck again, at first, and I haven't got far to go.
The dive builds precious airspeed, energy he can convert to altitude to climb ever closer to the clouds. Hard back on the stick. Under the force of 6 Gs, he's close to blacking out.
It's a little harrowing experience. I couldn't see, but I had, I don't know what you call it, you know what you're doing. You're not unconscious.
Save up to 20% on your purchase. The summer savings event is going on now at Raymore and Flanagan.
Ned's excited for his big date, but he's wondering.
Your blood comes back to your eyes and you're just back to normal.
Sutcliffe will use the airspeed he's built up in the dive to enter another climbing spiral that will help throw off the Germans' attack runs while getting him nearer the safety of the clouds.
So with these tight spirals, I was going pretty fast at the beginning, but with my nose almost straight up in a tight turn, I killed all the aerodynamics, so there was no lift. It was just this beautiful big Pratt & Whitney engine that was pulling me in this 7-ton airplane straight up.
To prevent a stall, Sutcliffe is forced to level off. The moment where he's most vulnerable to attack.
I'm starting to level out, hoping I can get into the clouds. And the 109 came down from the left. He was going too fast.
The Me-109 overshoots the turn, then does something completely unexpected.
He pulled up and slid right into me, just maybe 25, 30 feet away. It was just like flying formation with me. And I could see him clearly, he could see me clearly. He just looked at me and shook his head. I looked at him, I shook my head. I took it the fact that he was probably saying, there's no way you're going to get out of here.
A moment's silent acknowledgement between two warriors, and the fight continues.
He was hanging on a stall just like I was, but he started to just come back a little bit so he could get an angle on him. Just as I saw the nose where I felt he's going to let me have it, I pulled up right over his canopy.
Sutcliffe's hands and feet are a flurry of coordinated action. Full back on the stick, right aileron and rudder. Yet another attack is foiled. He dives for airspeed and again pulls up into a climbing spiral. Another attempt to reach the clouds.
I'm flying the old Thunderbolt, which we call a Razorback. Didn't have a bubble canopy, so it was difficult to see directly in back of you. And all of a sudden, traces come by both sides of my canopy.
Sutcliffe is here. Another ME-109 is here, in his blind spot.
I yanked the stick, I hit the rudder, and I did a quick snap roll. And he did hit me with that 20 millimeter.
The armor plate behind his headrest deflects the blast.
It just gave me a jolt, and I was so hepped up it didn't make much difference.
Sutcliffe is forced away from the clouds and into yet another power dive. He pulls back on the stick, but the controls are sluggish. The jug has taken some serious hits.
I'm pulling back, and then it's just, I'm having a heck of a lot of throw again. So I wrapped my leg around it and put two hands on it to get out of that dive.
Sutcliffe barely clears the trees. He's exhausted and drenched in sweat. He's been fighting for his life for 15 minutes. Sutcliffe knows this has to end.
I figured the next one I might not be able to pull out. So I was just figured that I'm going to have to make a run for it.
Sutcliffe begins another climbing spiral. This one will be decisive. It's now or never.
I looked around again and I didn't see anybody coming at me, so I leveled off, tried to get in the clouds. I'm probably 1,500 feet. I got another 500 feet to go.
Another German 109 drops from the Lufberry to attack. Intent on downing the lone P-47 once and for all. The German streaks in full throttle, building up excess speed in the dive. He chops power and throws in left rudder. The move puts him abreast of Sutcliffe's right wing.
He pulled in close to me again. We were going up. When I was so close to the clouds, I wasn't about to make any changes. If he's going to get me, he's going to get me, but I was going to go in the cloud.
Sutcliffe's engine howls as he claws for altitude. The 109's machine guns inch closer to the Thunderbolt's vulnerable six. It's an all-out race for the clouds.
Trump MAGA fascists, cruel, demented, dark ages oppressors.
June 14, 1944. P-47 Thunderbolt pilot George Sutcliffe is racing for the safety of a cloud deck. A German ME-109 inches closer to firing position. Sutcliffe teeters on the edge of stall as the turbocharged 2800 radial pulls the 7-ton jug towards safety. After 18 agonizing minutes, George Sutcliffe finally breaks into the clouds, closely flanked by the ME-109.
And when we got up, just covered with the clouds, he rolled over. I saw his belly roll over and he went out. So I'm thrilled that I'm in the clouds.
In an incredible display of airmanship, George Sutcliffe has outflown 20 Germans and lived to tell about it. he wings his Thunderbolt towards home.
I came in, they were surprised to see me. They thought I'd been shot down. I got down and got out of the aircraft. I was exhausted. Just
So thank you for sitting through that. I thought it was important and relevant so that when you come in the town hall and you see that picture, you have some history behind it. So not only was he a local hero, he was my grandfather. And my Uncle Barry's here, my mom Lynn, his great-granddaughter, Olivia, and myself and Aaron, who's somewhere in the room, are his grandsons. The funniest part of this, about a year before that fight that you just saw, he was doing a training mission out of Westover Air Force Base in July of '43, getting ready to head over to Europe. And in doing so, he had to bail. He had an incident with the plane, and he had to bail out of the plane over New Haven, Connecticut. He made it out no problem. On the way out, though, it sucked his boot off, and he lost his boot, and he was really upset about losing his boot. So I don't have all the exact details. I can't remember all the exact details in the timeline. But long story short is he went back to find that boot, and he found the boot in a bar, sitting on top of the near the mirror. And my grandfather later on in life, like I said, he would spend a lot of time with people that knew him from the war and whatnot. So he would go down to Connecticut once a year, socialize with those folks, and have a beer. Well, long story short, the gentleman that owned the bar passed away, and my grandfather passed away, and nobody knew what to do, so they dropped it off at the Smithfield Town Hall, and here it is.
Thank you, Peter. As someone who knew your grandfather, worked with your grandfather, he is truly an American hero. Now, I've watched this. This is the second time I watched it. I watched it on the History Channel when they told me it was going to be on. And he was certainly a gentleman and a great guy. And you should all be proud, the Sutcliffes and the Lawrences, of his accomplishments, and seeing that and the things that he did in that plane were like just unbelievable. And he survived. So thank you for bringing this to our attention, and thank you. And I'm sure your grandfather's looking down at you now, and may God rest his soul. And, he's a true American hero. Thank you. Anyone else? Hearing none. Next presentation. To the right. All right. Mr. Mancini, front and center. Mr. Mancini, the town council would like to recognize you tonight, and I'm going to read the citation. The Smithfield Town Council and the town of Smithfield, Rhode Island, wish to extend their heartfelt recognition to Lawrence J. Mancini on being awarded the Verrazano Man of the Year by the Grand Lodge of Rhode Island in order sons, daughters of Italy, and the American and Department of Rhode Island, Italian war veterans of the United States of America, and it was given to you on June 3rd, 2025. So thank you and congratulations on your award.
If I could just say a few words?
No.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you. It's not often I get to town hall and look at the night I picked. Peter Sutcliffe, Peter Lawrence did a nice job with your grandfather. Outstanding. I saw that on the History Channel. Beautiful job. And I know we have a crowd here tonight, but wish you all good luck in your deliberations this evening. And once again, members of the Town Council, thank you very much for the citation. Appreciate it.
I know you're tall, Larry, but the rest of us aren't.
Thank you, everyone, for your attention to these matters. Item number 6, minutes. Move the minutes of the April 15, 2025 open session meeting to be approved and recorded. I'll entertain a motion. Second. All in favor? Aye. Nays? Ayes have it. Item B, move the minutes of the May 13, 2025 executive session meeting held pursuant to Rhode Island General Laws 45, 46, 582, existing litigation, PC 2024-06280, appeal and PC 2025-0203, DDM ESS LLC versus James Buzzum, Chairman of the Smithfield Zoning Board of Review, and the potential litigation to approved as recorded and sealed. I'll entertain a motion.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye. Nays? Ayes have it. Move the minutes of the May 13, 2025 open session meeting to be approved and recorded. I'll entertain a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Nays? Ayes have it. Item number 7, consider and discuss the act upon the following possible appointments and reappointments. Madam Vice President.
Thank you, Mr. President. Motion to reappoint Peter Lawrence to the Budget and Financial Review Board expiring January 2030.
Do I have a second? Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye. Nays? Ayes have it. Planning Board reappointments with two terms expiring on May 2028.
Reappoint Joseph Rotella to Planning Board expiring May 2028.
Second.
And Richard Colavecchio.
And Richard Calavecchio. I have a second. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Nays? Ayes have it. Item number C, Zoning Board reappointment with the term expiring May of 2030.
Motion to reappoint John Hunt.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye. Nays? Ayes have it. Zoning Board reappointment, with two terms expiring 2026 of May.
Motion to reappoint Brian Thalman and Peter Carnavale.
I have a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye. Nays? Ayes have it. Item E, Planning Board appointment with the term expiring May of 2028.
Council appoints Gary Alexander to the Planning Board for a term expiring in May 2028.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Yes, just a quick comment. I just want to explain my vote on this. My vote has nothing to do with the applicant up for consideration, but rather I strongly believe there is another qualified individual who would be a better fit for the planning board. As many of you know, I'm a recruiter, so I look at best fit. When there's multiple candidates up for appointment, especially on a board like this, I think we should be be very choosy, and be very thoughtful about who we appoint. This is nothing against Mr. Alexander. I happen to think he has an extremely impressive resume. There's no doubt about that, and I'm sure he'll do a great job. He applied for the zoning board originally, so, and I think it's just critical that we appoint people to these boards with a wide range of specialized expertise, so that way the board is productive, well-informed. And additionally, I don't agree with the process once again. So in order to be consistent, I will be voting no once again. It has nothing to do with the applicant at hand. Thank you.
Any more discussion?
I agree that I think we have to have a better process. When we have multiple candidates for the same position, I think we need to have a discussion and an exchange on which candidate's the best fit. I think all of the candidates that applied for the planning board position were qualified, and but the question is, what is the process for determining which one should be appointed at this time? So I would agree with the comments made by Councilwoman Toppy.
Well, it is a little explaining to do. So most people came in, they applied for multiple positions. Also, there were other board that were open, they had vacancies, we put those people in those, so this person ended up at the end, and that's how we were selected.
Hearing any more discussion? All those in favor of putting Mr. Alexander on the planning board signify by saying aye. Aye. Nays?
Nay.
Ayes have it.
Abstain.
I didn't hear that. What was that? Abstain? Thank you. Item number 8, public hearings. Conduct a public hearing, consider, discuss, or act upon an amendment of Chapter 340, Item 6 to the Code of Ordinance entitled Schedule Penalties to Amendments to Section 340-15A entitled Non-Moving Violations, and adding therefore Section 340-15C entitled Temporary No Parking Regulations. I'll open up the public hearing. Anyone like to speak on this issue? Yes, sir.
Bobby Nicolopoulos, 26 Deerfield Drive. This one is hits home. I had an issue last year. I won't go into the details of that. I think the penalties increasing is a good thing. My question to the board would be, what is the consideration for repeat offenses in a specific period of time, since we're amending the schedule and also change some of the wording later down or further up, as you say. Is there anything to consider?
Where's the police chief? Is he here? Chief? The issue on the repeat offenders.
Chief Eric Dolan, Smithfield Police Department, good evening. Obviously, repeat offenders would have to be something that we'd have to discuss later in time. At this particular time, it would be just the same summons, but the increase in the importance of what this gentleman just said, we didn't have the enforcement authority to ticket somebody in the temporary no parking zone. This is a start to begin that process, I guess you could say, at a reasonable rate, but to also make enforcement.
Thank you, Chief. Any questions?
Chief, sorry, I'm sorry. These go to the municipal court, correct, for enforcement, or do these go directly to the police department?
It depends on the situation. It could go to municipal court or it could come to the police department. And in some situations, there are, we can handle the actual dismissal of it based on the situation. Maybe a handicap placard is presented. We can dismiss that at the station before it gets to the next level.
It's my understanding the increase is just to be on par with other municipalities and things like that.
So we did some research. Sergeant Paul Gorman, I know Councilman Mike Iannati helped us out in the past. We did some research of all the communities that are surrounding us, and we were well under, and we're on par with them now as to what is an efficient fine.
Thank you.
And the vehicle can also be removed.
Yes.
By the police department, and the owner would have to pay to get the vehicle back.
So that would be outside the actual violation summons. Right. The tow companies that service our community would tow the vehicle, and they'd be responsible for that tow charge, just as they are for any police tows.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Thank you.
Anyone else like to speak on this issue? I'll close the public hearing.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye. Nays, ayes have it. Item number 9, licenses. Consider, discuss, and act upon approving an annual renewal of 2 mobile food truck licenses as listed as applied, subject to compliance with all state regulations and local ordinances, and they both are Dell's Lemonade, and when the second one is Dell's Lemonade Refreshments, DBA Dell's Lemonade. I'll entertain a motion. Everything in order, Lynn?
Yes, they are.
I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Nays, ayes have it. Item B, consider, discuss, and act approving a new peddler's license for Neuro Breweries, LLC, DBA Neuro Brews, 26 Highview Drive, Smithfield, to sell coffee, subject to compliance with all state regulations, local ordinances, and a mobile food truck registration. Everything in order, Lynn?
Just missing that one area, the registration.
Just the registration.
Motion to approve, subject to.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Nays, ayes have it. Item number C, consider, discuss, and act upon approving annual renewal of 5 massage establishments license as listed as applied, subject to compliance with all state regulations and local ordinances. Shalom McDermott, Evelyn Massage, Kimberly LaPierre, Lamea Moral Brown, and Oasis Spa. I'll entertain a motion if everything is in order.
So moved.
Do I have a second? Any more discussion?
Have we confirmed, Madam Clerk, that these businesses all have licenses from the Rhode Island Department of Health? I should say the people
The information is
work
received
there.
from the state portal, and they are all licensed on the state level as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Nays, ayes have it. Item D, consider, discuss, act upon approving annual renewal of 7 massage therapy licenses listed as applied, subject to compliance with all state regulations. Shalom McDermott, Holly Burnham, Kimberly Lapierre, Lamar Brown, Robin Tantate, William Bradley, and Young Sung Lee. Everything in order.
Yes, they are, same situation, information retrieved from the state of order.
Thank
Motion
you.
to approve.
Do I have a second? Any discussion?
Yeah, I do just see one license that's expired, 24, so I don't know.
Okay, I can certainly look into that.
Which one is that, please?
Holly,
Holly Bynum?
Enliven Massage, it's number 2 on that list.
Yeah, we'll exclude her from the motion. I'll entertain another motion
Motion to approve as amended.
to exclude Holly Burnham. Have a second? All those in favor? Aye. Nays, ayes have it. So that would be a number of 6. I'll entertain a motion to pass the 6. Second. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Nays, ayes have it. Item E. Is anyone here from Blackie's? All right, so we're going to move item E to the August agenda.
So moved.
Do I have a second? All those in favor? Aye. Nays, ayes have it. Item F, consider, discuss, and act upon approving a mobile true food truck license for Calibri Enterprises LLC, Corner Mark Cafe, 695 George Washington Highway, Lincoln, Rhode Island, with the Rhode Island registration number of IVE 758, as applied, subject to compliance with all state regulations and local ordinances. I'll entertain a motion if everything is in order.
In order.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Nays, ayes have it. Item G, consider, discuss, and act upon the annual renewal of one peddler's license as listed as applied, subject to compliance with all state regulations and local ordinances. Marshall E. Gordon. Everything in order? I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Nays, ayes have it. Item H, consider, discuss, and act approving the annual renewal of one pool table license as applied, subject to compliance with all state regulations and local ordinances, the Portuguese American Social and Athletic Club. I'll entertain a motion if everything is in order.
In order.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Nays, ayes have it. Item I, consider, discuss, act approving the new massage establishment license and therapy and wellness LLC, Not Massage, 135 Pleasant View Avenue, number 9, as applied, subject to compliance with all state regulations and local ordinances. Lynn, is everything okay with that one? I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
A second. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Nays, ayes have it. Consider, item J, consider, discuss, act upon approving a new massage therapy license for Jessica Greenhall for the conduct therapeutic massages as Not Massage, 135 Pleasant View Avenue, item number 9, as applied, subject to compliance with all state regulations and local ordinances. Are we all set with that, Lynn? Entertain a motion.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Nays, ayes have it. Item number 10, old business, there is none. Item number 11, new business. Consider the act, discuss upon authorizing the town manager to enter into a contract through Stonewall Contract 120320 with Zamboni Company USA of Paramount, California, and the purchase of one new Zamboni 552 AC ice resurfacing unit in the amount not to exceed $134,982.95 to be funded out of the operating budget. Mr. Tully.
Members of the Town Council, my name is Thomas Tully, Ice Rink Director for the Town of Smithfield. Before you tonight to ask for the purchase, sorry, I got my glasses off. Ask for the purchase of a new Zamboni. This is a piece of equipment to replace our existing newest machine at the ice rink. that was purchased in 2017.
Where is it going? The new one, the
It's
old
going to get
one.
traded in. It's on the contract.
Trade in?
Yeah, we're going to trade it in for the value of $14,000.
So is it 14,000 minus the 134, or is it 134 the low price?
134 is the price after all of the deductions.
Thank you. Any
This is
questions,
just
Mr.
so you know,
Tully?
it is a CIP project for the rink. It's budgeted for this year, and it's coming in significantly under budget as well.
Yeah, it was budgeted for 225.
Yes.
I had a question. On the capital plan, it states that by the time that this is needed, it will be 10 years old. But then this memo says it's over 20 years old.
Yes.
So which?
That's a typo
is it?
in the memo. It's 10 years old. That's should be at 10, almost 10 years old.
So when you purchased it in 2017?
Yeah.
So it's only 8 years old?
Well, it's almost 10 years old. My experience has been, we've had, the first one we purchased when I was on staff was 2010. It deteriorated. We purchased another one in 2017, so it's an electric machine. It tends to deteriorate over time faster than a normal combustion engine. But it's just, my experience has been the useful life is about 8 to 10 years. We won't get this machine actually until September of 2026. Because you have to build it. So it's going to be 13 months out from, 15 months out from the time of the purchase contract.
So it's beyond repair at this time? You can no longer repair it?
Well, we can repair it, but the battery's going to start to go. We've already invested a battery in this particular unit, or this particular piece of equipment. This will be our third battery in that machine. My experience and my advice is to replace the machine now. This has not been, I've had 3 new machines. This has not been the best one, unfortunately. It's had more issues than most, and it's a good time, and it's a good price for a trade-in as well.
So when was the one before 2010 purchased?
That was the existing machine in the building. I got here on staff in 2001. We purchased it, it was the new in 2010, I believe. And then the one, we had an additional purchase in 17, which is the existing machine. This will be our third one.
So third one in 15 years. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions of the director? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion for with the contract with Zamboni Company for purchase of a new Zamboni, $134,982.95.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any more discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Nays, ayes have it.
Thank you, council.
Item B, consider, discuss, and act upon authorizing the town manager to purchase one used Ford Explorer from Metro West Auto Sales of Worcester, Massachusetts, in the amount of $14,387.00 to be funded through the Capital Reserve Fund. Mr. Manager.
Council members, this particular purchase is from the same company we've used in the past to replace fire vehicles, and this is our staff vehicle for the town manager and town hall. Actually, over time, it pays for itself rather than paying the vehicle stipend. So in the long run, it'll pay itself off in 3 years.
The truck that you have now, chief, is how old? The black
That's a
one?
2020, but that's going back to the fire department.
So the chief will have that,
Yeah.
the next chief? And then, so eventually, the trucks that keep going back, what happens to like the last one?
They keep getting passed down, and then the oldest one gets usually traded in.
The oldest one gets, okay, so that, there should be an extra, so to speak.
Right
somewhere in
now,
that
there
lineup.
isn't, because we retired a couple of vehicles, but
Oh, okay.
they'll be fine.
Thanks.
Any other discussion? I'll entertain a motion.
I just wanted to say before I make the motion, just to thank the town manager for looking at used vehicles and doing the math out for us. A lot of other departments don't do that, so I appreciate it. And with that, I'll move passage.
Second.
Any more discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye. Nays, ayes have it. Item C, consider, discuss, and act upon a bid award of the Round Department of Education School Building Authority and Health and Safety Emergency Projects, ISE Room, Smithfield High School, on behalf of the school department.
Good evening. I'm Patrick Robler with Collier's Project Leaders, the OPM for the emergency projects and the Stage 2 the Ride Stage 2 project as well. So we're in front of you for the last time for these emergency projects, thank goodness. So this is the recommendation to award the emergency project for the ISE room at the high school. So we'll be reconfiguring the IT space, or the currently being used as IT space, off of the library. It's 3 separate rooms that will be reconfigured to be utilized as the new ISE space. So the ISE space will move from the back corner of the high school to a location off of the library, where they'll have more accessibility to the student population, as well as facilities and the courtyard, those things like that. So the bid was put out during the walk. This one was a little bit of a different go-around than the last one, where we only had 2 bidders and we had 2 bids submitted. We had 6 bidders walk this project, and only 1 submitted a bid. So we did a deep dive into the recommended bidder here, which was the only bidder for the project, and compared that against the third-party estimate. And basically everything fell kind of exactly where we needed it to be. So the motion for this one is a little bit different in format than you've seen prior. So because of the way that change orders are handled in Smithfield, we would have to come before you if there was a need to change order the job during the summer. So that would require an emergency meeting be held at a time that would be difficult for probably a lot of people to make it. So what we've done is we've crafted this recommended motion to award based off of not only the base contract value, but also the 2 alternates that were proposed and requested for pricing during the bid period. And those would only be added to the project at the school building committee's vote. So it would have to go in front of the school building committee. They would weigh that. We'd look at the budget. We'd go, is this what we want to do? And then they would approve it after an approval tonight. So I just want to be transparent in explaining why that's crafted that way and how that's crafted. And I'm happy to take any questions.
Any questions?
Is this being funded out of the town's capital fund for the school department? That's what I'm assuming, so we have to put that in the motion as well. This seems like a lot of money. It's $400,000. Can you elaborate on why this is such an expensive project?
Sure. So part of this project is to not only partition the rooms and to make that space usable for the student population that will be moving into it and using it, but also to install a bathroom in that space and a kitchenette area. So there's a kitchen that is in the current ISE space that's used to prepare lunches, teach life skills, those sorts of things. I'm probably not the appropriate person to speak to the educational benefits of all of that, but as part of the move, we're transitioning that space over we're adding those facilities to that space. So anytime you get into installing a kitchen or a bathroom, MEPs that are involved in that just tend to be more expensive.
Are there any architectural plans or drawings
Yes.
of this?
I believe if they were not included in this, then I can certainly get them to you. No, they were not in the letter. But I can certainly provide those to you. There's a full set of both architectural drawings with architectural specs on them, and then there's MEP, which is mechanical, electrical, and plumbing specs that are an attached document to that as well.
Is that what you use to get the amount of the bid?
Yes, yes, those were the bid documents. So these numbers are hard, meaning that they are, once we accept the bid or once we're approved to accept the bid, then the contract will be written for these amounts, and there's no moving on the amounts for the contract.
Any other questions?
If I may, Mr. President. So how come if you already have a bathroom and a kitchenette area in the space in the high school in which the rooms already exist, are you now going away from the room that already has these amenities and go to a different room down the hallway that does not have the amenities to then pay for new amenities?
Dawn Bart, Superintendent, thank you for the question. Just to clarify, the current room that the intensive special ed is, there is no bathroom in there. And so where the students are taken are down the hallway where the fine arts area is. Those are not ADA compliant. So in the current space, which was has the garage door, which was originally a shop, there is a kitchen space in there. There is a living space in there. but it does have that garage door. It is also on the outskirts of the school. So by bringing it to the center of the school, the hub, the students are brought to the center. It would need a bathroom. Either way, we wouldn't have one if we stayed in the place. We would have a kitchen that exists.
So does RIDE require, and excuse me, just because I'm not super familiar with these requirements, does RIDE require a kitchenette and a bathroom for these types of rooms?
Excellent question. Because it's a life skills room, yes, and in fact, some even have washer dryers, dishwashers, et cetera. This will just have the kitchen and the bathroom, which would be an upgrade from where the students are right now.
All right. And these are special ed classrooms, you're saying?
It is, they are, yes, most needy.
Would it be, strike that, has the school explored adding a bathroom to that area instead as a more cost-effective option?
We actually started off looking at how we can improve that particular space. We had looked at removing the garage door. A lot of heat comes in, water when it rains, as well as cold. So that was the primary, that was our primary concern, other than, the more primary, the students are in the back area of the school. So it's in an area and in a room in which wheelchairs and other equipment also cannot fit in those areas. So when we started to talk as an executive team at the school department, I'm working with the principal and some of the teachers, we happened to look at these rooms that are being used for technology. At one time, they were classrooms. So that's where this idea came from, and it would be, and that's why it's also classified as an emergency project. The state of the room there is not as conducive for students to be there, but it would be a great room for the tech department to move into those and be able to use that garage door.
So you're saying wheelchairs currently do not
Or in the
fit?
hallways, other than the
Towards
ones
the
that are.
door?
Yes, so all of the extra equipment you'll see are outside. So in this room where technology is currently housed and computers, it would be large enough to be able to fit the students' equipment, have the living space, upgrade a little bit in terms of having a bathroom that is ADA compliant.
Okay, do you have, sorry, I keep asking questions. Do you have any studies or anything that you did about reconstructing the room that already exists into becoming appropriate for these students? Like, there must have been some type of cost benefit to moving the room.
We didn't do an official, because obviously there would be a cost there. What we knew is it's too hot for the kids in these months. And in the beginning of the year, it's too cold during the winter. Water comes in. So our first primary was, how do we take out that garage door, seal it up, or to make another exit for students to come to? That's what we did when we came to the school committee. Our first project was obviously the culinary CTE. When RIDE came through with the Department of Education and we put this idea across, would this even be feasible to go forward with it? They said absolutely. So that's when we brought to the school department and then to the town council.
Okay, and then you said the technology is then going to go into that space?
Yes, which would be terrific. So that is really where the hub of our technology for the entire district. So that is used as an office for equipment. It would fit better in that back area. And again, having the garage door stay on there so that deliveries can come and go. So we're switching two areas where students are and when technology is in the high school.
It's because it sounds like you would have to fix that area anyway, because you're saying water comes in. I don't know if, like, to me, water and technology don't mix usually.
I can let the OPM discuss, but we don't think we have to fix it. So again, we're not storing the students' computers in that back room. So in the back is actually like 3 different rooms. So where the technology would be in the beginning, but it wouldn't be a flood of rain coming in, which is good.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure. Anytime that you have a student population that is in a space that is designed to be a garage and it's not in the automotive class, it's something that you need to look at from hey, is this serving the best interests of the students, right? And then additionally, the space where the IT department currently is residing in those rooms is very large, kind of oversized for what they need. It does give them lots of room to spread out. But there are also there's an MDF and an IDF, which is the main data frame and I can't remember what IDF is, but basically the auxiliary data frame, right? So it's big IT racks that are there with cabling and electrical cords and all that stuff. That is all part of the classrooms right now. We'll call them classrooms, right? So those would have to be partitioned off if you wanted to use those for a different space anyways. And part of that is adding cooling to those rooms as well. So anytime that you get into the MEP portion, the mechanical, electrical, and plumbing, that's where cost goes up. And so anytime you have to address that, you're gonna be dealing with that anyways. And so utilizing this space for a student structured area makes a lot of sense, and is typical for what we see in other municipalities throughout Rhode Island. College Project Leaders works with lots of different towns throughout Rhode Island and lots of different school districts. And this is typically what we see. We see this kind of reutilization of space, a little bit of stepping back and going, is this serving our needs? And then if it's not, then how do we use our existing space to serve our needs better?
You all set? Can I ask a question?
For now.
No, you're good. Just a quick question. Do you think it's reasonable that the line item to install a soap dispenser, paper towel dispenser, and a toilet paper dispenser is $3,000?
Are you looking at the bid or are you looking at the
new work?
Mm-hmm. So this was interesting. So this was a GC bid, a general contract bid, which is typically we just get a number, right? We get one number. We don't get any sort of breakout. And that's really it. We just have one number to go off of. So we don't really get the opportunity to break it down. Typically, when you look at smaller contracts, what they do is kind of put things in pools. And they spread their contingency out throughout all of those pools. So where a standard CM or a construction manager project, where we have a budget, and then we have a contingency that we control and they can ask to access, right? The GC has to work all of that into all of their numbers. So what any of these particular numbers represent could be anybody's guess, but what we want to look at is the comparison of these numbers versus what we're seeing in the third-party estimate from Miyakota. And Miyakota is an experienced third-party estimator that RIDE relies on regularly for third-party estimates in different RIDE projects.
I appreciate the answer respectfully. That answer concerns me. I did talk to somebody on the building committee, and they said the bid was in line with what construction is now. So if I didn't have that, I don't think I could support that. I don't agree with that answer from them, so.
So when you're dealing with public bid of work, the other option is to reject all bids, or in this case, the one, right? And to say, we don't want to do the project.
Mm-hmm.
So then you have to kick the project down the road and go and re-spend the effort to rebid it out and hope that you get more bidders. And that can be beneficial depending on the scenario. But when you're looking at an item like install, drain, a new dishwasher for $3,000, like that is also like what they're paying their employees is governed by prevailing wage, right? Which is a higher rate than you would build a home for, right? Prevailing wage is a regulated wage.
Understood. And that's just to install, not the product, correct? Not the
No,
dishwasher?
this is the whole thing to boodle.
Okay, thank you.
What's the timeline and what's the state reimbursement?
Yeah, so your state reimbursement is always going to be 35%. And so unless there's opportunities later in the future where RIDE might incentivize additional percentage bonus points or something like that, right now they're unavailable. And so 35% is where Smithfield sits. So 35% of that would go back to Smithfield at the end of the project once it's all been submitted. These emergency projects are submitted and immediately reimbursed versus like the 5-year capital plan projects that are reimbursed once per year, right? So as soon as we're done with this project, the finance director can submit for reimbursement and then RIDE will process that and then reimburse that 35%. And what was your other question? Reimbursement and then what was the other?
What's the timeline for the project?
So because this is an emergency project, those are bound by fiscal years. So our fiscal year for 24-25 ends on June 30th. So that is our date of substantial completion for the CTE project. We must be complete by then in order to fit within that fiscal period. But then our second fiscal period starts on July 1st. So July 1st would be our boots on the ground day, and then we would be completed by the time, the week before teachers come back to start spinning up for the new fall semester. So this would be done over a month and a half.
So these are basically, we have two emergency projects, one this fiscal year and one for next fiscal year.
The following fiscal year, but both happening this summer. That's correct.
Any other questions?
I know I asked this previously with the other CTE program, and I'll ask it again, does that seem like a realist? This project seems much more in-depth than the other CTE project that you proposed that would have been done in a month or so. I mean, I'm not a construction person. To me, like, doing demolition on these 3 rooms that are attached to the library, opening them up for ADA compliance, installing kitchens, installing bathrooms, plumbing, the whole thing. 6 weeks seems like a very tight timeline, almost an unrealistic timeline.
So when we approached this, one of the things that we did was we looked at how realistic it was, right? So Colliers reached out to a lot of our partners that we see often through different construction projects and kind of weighed this against what they were seeing and like, hey, does this seem realistic if we've got this time frame and this is about the scope? And then we also have some internal mechanisms that review that as well. From the get-go, we've said, this is tight. It's possible, but it's going to be tight. And so in order for this to happen, that's part of the reason why the motion is drafted the way that it is to allow the school building committee to make the decision on whether alternates are going to be bought or not, and those are locked in price, right? But that allows us to respond quickly to these sorts of things, instead of having to wait and come back to town council for an approval for something. As far as are we going to be able to get it done? I firmly believe that we can, yes.
Is there any type of assurances or, any language in the contract that would say if they're unable to get this done?
Absolutely, absolutely. So there are liquidated damages in any of our Colliers contracts. It's ranges, depending on contract negotiation, between $1,500, $3,500 a day, right, for every day that's not delivered substantial completion by the substantial completion date. So we set a date in that contract, you must be substantially complete by X, right? So call it, well, I won't throw a date out there, but by whatever that date is. And then if they are not substantially complete, meaning that the space can be utilized for its intended purpose and passes, the fire marshal inspection and all that stuff, then they will be charged an amount per day, per diem, right, until they are substantially complete. And that goes direct to the school or to the source of funding.
And is there a number, because I know you said 1,500, 3,500, is there a number for this particular contract that you know of at this point? Or?
So the reason I gave you the range is because I've seen them range in that area. I think that our standard is either 3,000 or 3,500 is kind of what it goes out with, but I can certainly check on that and get back to you.
Okay, thank you. And then just a comment, I think for the councils more so, and I guess for you too, I don't really feel comfortable doing the motion as drafted in the sense that we don't have a vote on the change orders. I was on the town council when we were building the elementary schools, and there was hundreds of change orders for that. And I know the budget, went substantially higher than expected. It was still within budget, but it went higher than expected and than quoted for. So for the sake of rushing to not be able to be in the loop on change orders, I don't feel comfortable with that.
Did you want to add to the motion?
I would remove that if there was a motion.
I would agree with that as well.
Ask that not be a part of it.
May I add just another bit of information, because it is in the middle of the school. The only time feasibly to be able to do this work would be the summertime. That would be able to provide that time frame. So if we were to delay the project, for instance, or because of approvals, we would not be able to finish it this next fiscal year. We would be going out to the next one.
Well, it wouldn't be delayed. The town council would meet and either approve or not approve a change order.
That it would have to be certainly to be able to meet the emergency projects and to be able to open the school and have that completed. Absolutely, but the council would have to be willing to come in again in a short timeline in an emergency meeting. which may or, may not work out.
I'm absolutely okay with meeting if it's going to cost taxpayers money, absolutely.
Agree.
Make the motion.
Yeah, so just to clarify, if you are looking at the recommended motion, the 335,000 is the number that you want to key in on. The alternate 1 at 40 and alternate 2 at 28, for the total of 403. If you're wanting to exclude those 3 numbers would not be a part of the motion.
Repeat that for me, please.
So 335,000 is what you're looking to approve today, the base bid amount, based off of what you just explained to me.
335 is the base.
That's the base value, yes. And then the alternate number 1 is demolition and removal of the greenhouse that is in the courtyard, so that becomes an exit space, because that greenhouse actually does not have an exit to it. There's only a door going from the inside of the building into the greenhouse, currently unused. So that would become a pathway between the classroom and the courtyard. So that's what the $40,000 gets. It gets demolition and removal of that. And then the alternate number 2 at $28,000 is removal and replacement of all of the floor tiling that is in that space. That floor tiling's been tested. It is not any asbestos-containing material, so it's just standard floor tile removal and replacement.
So are you telling me that those 2 proposals have nothing to do with the ISE? They were just extras?
No, those are part of the ISE room. So the greenhouse is attached to the ISE room on the inside of the high school courtyard. There's a door that goes from the ISE room to the greenhouse. And they wanted to be able to create a pathway from the ISE space into the courtyard. Right now, that does not exist. They would have to go out through the cafeteria or another door.
So we're approving the base bid, and then one of the alternates at the school building committee's discretion, but then also in the motion, I think Councilwoman, Vice President Bovis, you put that, you have to come before us for any change orders.
Right,
That's really the motion, right?
Right, and so you would just say that you would approve the base bid at $335,000, because by default, we would have to come in front of you for any
Perfect.
change orders
Good.
for the alternate 1 or alternate 2.
Could you be asking for both alternate 1 and alternate 2?
It depends on what the school building committee decides.
Councilwoman?
You want me to do the motion?
Go ahead. Mike said he'll do the
Please,
motion.
because I don't even know how I feel about this, to be honest.
Mr. President, I move that the Smithfield Town Council award RFP 2544 for ISE room ride health and safety emergency projects to the only responsible and evaluated bidder, Red Oak Remodeling, Inc., located at 300 Whaley Hollow Road, Coventry, Rhode Island, with a base approved cost not to exceed $335,000, and authorize the Smithfield Public School Department to enter into a contract with Red Oak Remodeling for the proposed work, with the funds to come from the school building capital fund administered by the town.
And any change orders have to come in.
And that any change orders would have to be brought before the town council for approval.
Do I have a second? Any more discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Nays? Ayes have it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Item number D, consider and discuss or act upon adopting a resolution in support of the General Assembly establishing a Smithfield Juvenile Hearing Board. Mr. Manager.
Council members, currently the town of Smithfield and the town of Johnston have a regional juvenile hearing board. There's been some administrative issues in that board meeting. The administrative oversight is basically done by Johnston, and there haven't been enough meetings to deal with the hearings that we have for our police department here in Smithfield. So at this point in time, since the issues related to us working together and the hearings not being available, we're suggesting that we pass legislation so that Smithfield can have their own juvenile hearing board. It doesn't preclude us in the future to get back together with somebody else, but right now in the best interest of our community here and working with the police department, this would better serve us.
Any discussion? I'll
Mr.
entertain
President,
a
if I
motion.
may, the Juvenile Hearing Board is a great option for juveniles, obviously, who get into some trouble in town and maybe can avoid the criminal justice system and some things on their record for a long period of time. So, you know, this is definitely a great option, and I would move passage.
We have a second. Any discussion?
The only thing I'll say is that going forward on something like this, if we could get some sort of memo explaining why this is needed. I called somebody on the board because I had no idea why. So it would be good to have that information going forward.
Any more
Do you mean
discussion?
in the
Like so-
packet?
in the packet, yes, thank you.
Any more discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye. Nays? Ayes have it. Item number E, consider, discuss, act upon adopting a resolution in opposition to House Bill 5436 and Senate Bill 359 relating to gun control. Councilwoman Toppy.
Thank you, Mr. President. I don't know if we want to open it up to discussion. I have a statement I'd like to make, so in order to do that, I'll make a motion that the Smithfield Town Council hereby adopt a resolution in opposition to House Bill 5436 and Senate Bill 359 relating to gun control.
Second.
We have a second. Why don't you talk about it, and then I'll explain how we're going to handle this.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. President. I'm sure a lot of people want to talk, so I'll be as quick as possible. There's a lot I could say on this subject, but in the interest of everyone's time, I'll focus only on a couple things. In the last 2 weeks alone, the council has received well over 30 emails and calls requesting that this resolution be added to the agenda and then passed. By far, that is the most I've ever been contacted by constituents on any single issue in the 2.5 years I've been in this role. That clearly demonstrates the importance of this subject. This resolution states that the town of Smithfield recognizes and supports the constitutional right to keep and bear arms. It states that the town opposes House Bill 5436 and Senate Bill 359, the so-called Assault Weapons Ban Act, which would ban the sale and possession of an estimated 90% of commonly owned firearms in Rhode Island. This ban is based on certain features that misinformed special interest groups deem dangerous, which ironically are on the firearm for safety and accessibility purposes. It's easy to tell that no one from the firearm community was part of crafting these bills. Further, registration, which apparently is now voluntary, certification, which is really not, confiscation and storage of these firearms would place a financial burden and unfunded mandate on the town. Not only is there a safety issue at play, but a financial one as well. The bottom line is that these bills are impractical in both application and enforcement. To date, 14 other cities and towns in Rhode Island have passed a similar yet more comprehensive resolution opposing these bills. Burrillville, Charleston, Coventry, Exeter, Foster, Gloucester, Hopkinton, Johnston, Lincoln, North Providence, Situate, Tiverton, Warwick just last night, and West Greenwich. West Warwick is also on the table tonight as well. These bills have nothing to do with public safety. They target and punish law-abiding citizens of Rhode Island and the people of Smithfield. They put a strain on local police departments. These bills promote victimhood, not empowerment. We should be educating and empowering people to be responsible citizens and firearm owners. We should not be disarming them. In March, I attended the House of Representatives hearings on these bills at the State House for the first time. It was a remarkable experience observing thousands of people, including several constituents actively opposing these bills. But this is nothing I haven't seen before. Every year when a form of these bills come up, I watch the hearings from start to finish, late into the evenings. While some might suggest that taking a stand on this issue is simply a political statement, I respectfully disagree. This is evidenced by the countless hours of testimony year after year of Republicans, Democrats, independents, and progressives of all ages, backgrounds, and religions collectively opposing these harmful, overreaching bills. Anyone can watch the hearings and see for themselves. As evidenced by other cities across the United States, these bills will not do anything to curb crime because criminals do not follow laws. Criminal activity does occur in Smithfield. You may recall the alarming video of a man who was charged with breaking and entering on Ridge Road in January. mentally ill, or criminal intent, it does not matter. People have the right to protect themselves, their family, and their property. Let's consider for a moment a 300-pound man high on drugs breaking into the home of your elderly mother or your daughter who lives alone. Do we think pepper spray or a bat will stop him? Firearms are the great equalizer for women and the vulnerable and give people an actual chance at not being a victim. Instead of turning innocent law-abiding citizens into felons under the guise of public safety, the state should focus on prosecuting criminals to the full extent of the law, as well as budget more resources to support those with mental health issues. I strongly support punishing those who do harm to others, which these bills do not address. I have a duty as an elected official to uphold the oath to the Rhode Island Constitution and the United States Constitution that I took at our swearing in. We just passed a resolution opposing overreaching state law that further erodes control of local zoning. The premise is the same here. Why wouldn't we support one that erodes the right to defend ourselves, our family, and our property? If we think the infringement by the state will end here, think again. Consider the quote, "How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time." I strongly oppose these bills as they will cause extreme harm to the people of Smithfield, and they will impose unfunded mandates on our town. For those reasons, I support the passage of this resolution. Thank you.
Anyone else on the council would like to talk before I open it up? Okay, what I'd like to do, if it's possible, if you guys want to come up and testify, short, sweet. There's a lot of people in this room. It's getting very warm. And I'll entertain coming up and opening up for public comment, and then we will entertain a vote. Don't all rush up at once.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the Town Council of Smithfield.
Can I have your name, please, and where you live?
My name is Al Gagné. I live in Smithfield, Pheasant Ridge. I'm a veteran.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you. So, I'm going to be 78 years old, believe it or not. I'm active, and since I retired, I remain active. I've been to Japan several times. We're here tonight to speak about defending our Second Amendment rights. In '68, my brother and I and our fellow classmates were either enlisted or got drafted for Vietnam. We served to protect our Constitution. There are 27 amendments to the Bill of Rights. There are no other rights that have had so many restrictions placed upon them and regulations than the Second Amendment. Vermont has also been an original defender of the Bill of Rights, especially the second. Constitutional carry has never been challenged there. Today, there are 24 states that have adopted constitutional carry. Rhode Island is on a dangerous path. Once the Second Amendment is removed, there is no other way to protect the other Bill of Rights. History has proven how democracies have failed. Our southern border has been wide open. Criminals have entered every state. Foreign terrorists and deadly gang members are in our neighborhoods, and they're well armed. Disarming these criminals, disarming us will not make the criminals harmless. Our Justice Department has also failed us. Criminals arrested have been entering through a revolving door, only to re-arm themselves and re-offend. Too many young college girls and women have been victims of these violent gangs. Parents are crying out for justice. Why would anyone in their right mind even suggest any form of disarmament of the innocent citizens while the criminals are not prosecuted and sentenced to a long prison confinement? It is time to punish the guilty and not the innocent citizens. In Denver, Colorado, the MS-13 and Trinidad gangs were taking over apartment buildings armed with actual automatic weapons. Boston has been harboring these gangs as well, and there are some in Providence. Our elected representatives and council members have taken an oath will they defend the Bill of Rights? We are here tonight to make our voices heard. Therefore, I urge every council member to vote in opposition of House Bill 5436 and Senate Bill 359. Thank you for the opportunity to speak on behalf of the Smithfield citizens and veterans of Smithfield.
Thank you, sir, and thank you again for your service.
Members of the town council, other guests in this room.
Can you please state your name and where you live, please? for
My
the
name is
record?
Brian Burke, and I live on Terrace Drive in Greenville, Rhode Island. I'm a 40-year veteran of law enforcement, 6 years in the United States Army National Guard. I have lived in real-time experiences involving guns, crimes, shootings, accidental, non-accidental, and I beg you to please support Councilman Toppy's proposal. I'm going to be very short and ask you all if you remember what a 1959 Cadillac sedan looks like. Remember how long it was? Well, just think about being 2:30 in the morning on a summer night. Light hasn't even started to come through the sky. My wife and I are laying in bed, and I hear music. Now, I was retired from the police department then, okay? And I said, what'd you leave the radio on for? I said, I didn't leave the radio on. You didn't? I said, well, where's the music coming from? I don't know. So I get up and I went to my bedroom window. And there sitting in my driveway is a 1959 Cadillac sedan with two people in it smoking what appears to be cigarettes, okay? And it's marijuana. Well, the scary part is I know who these people are because I arrested them 20 years earlier for drug sales and drug possessions. What the hell are they doing in my driveway at 2:30 in the morning? Well, I called the police station and I said, send some cars over here, no license sirens. I don't know if you were on the job yet at the time, Chief. This was in 92, 93. Well, I know you were. Well, let me tell you something. What I did was I got my gun out of my safe. I put a round in the chamber. I went outside my house and I waited for the police to come. And I told my wife, get on the floor, lay down, and don't get up until I tell you. Well, I went outside my house with a loaded gun to the corner of the building, and I see these two gentlemen, I'll be nice, in this car, puffing away on the joints. Well, as the police car started coming down my driveway, I turned around the corner, I pointed the gun at him, Mr. Burke, please don't shoot us, please don't shoot us. I said, keep your hands in the air, because I'll tell you, I would have shot him. Because I wasn't a policeman then. I was just a regular citizen in my home, sleeping with my wife, and two people have to come into my driveway smoking pot and having a party in their car. And I said to them, what are you doing in my driveway? Well, we were going to look for a party in the area. We ended up at the wrong house. I said, you better believe you did. I said, because you come close to dying. You were about to meet Jesus. And I'll tell you, I was scared. Gun and all, I was scared. And it's just like you other people in this room and you up at this council table. It is not funny when people come in and threaten you. And the only recourse that you may have before the law enforcement can get to you is if you have a firearm, whether it's an MP4 or a .38 revolver. None of us in this room want to see our children shot in school, our grandchildren shot anywhere. And I think the most important thing is to support what Councilwoman Toppy is trying to prove here for everybody. The yellow shirts, the red shirts, nobody wants to get hurt. But it's important that you protect our rights. If you don't, what you're going to do is you're going to make it open season for every crook in the world. Say, well, you might as well go into Smithfield. They don't have guns anymore. That's the way it is. Thank you.
Hi,
Hi, my name is Elaine Polino, and I live in Smithfield, Rhode Island. And I'm so thankful that Rachel did this, and thank you all for hearing us tonight. Like so many of the surrounding towns have done, I really hope that you do pass this. Anyway, not only does this act infringe on our Second Amendment rights of law-abiding citizens, but I feel, along with my responsible gun owner people, that education is the key to our Second Amendment right, to keeping our Second Amendment rights. New gun owners would benefit from taking a gun safety class where they can learn how to properly shoot, clean, and store their guns. Furthermore, education, I believe, is totally the key for the state and government, as well as the public, to realize guns do not kill people. Uneducated people and gun safety, angry or mentally unstable people kill people, all right? So if they don't have a gun, they will use a knife, they will use a car, they'll even use your fist if they want to kill you or break into your house and hurt you. Like, for example, if the people in Colorado had concealed permits, then maybe that terrorist that went around burning senior citizens, okay, might have been stopped because someone would have saw his intent and shot him, or at least held him until the police got there. And another important point I want to make is that parents really need to be held legally responsible for their children and their minor children's criminal behavior. This is a good start with dealing with gun violence at its source. Educating parents about gun ownership responsibility, whether it be about locking the guns in the house or being responsible for doing mental health checks on their kids. Especially if you have children, that behavior has become dark and depressive, even for teachers. Start being aware of that, because these kids don't wake up one day and say, I'm gonna go shoot people. This is a planned thing. They usually buy the gun illegally or figure a way to, get one. Anyway, it's a common sense way to deal with the ongoing issue of parental responsibility. And this, all being said, as a gun owner, I feel the Second Amendment right gives us the ability to protect ourselves, like he said, our family, our property, especially in uncertain times with so many unstable people wanting to wreak havoc on others. So I really hope the good people of the Smithfield Town Council have this resolution on behalf of the responsible citizens who believe in the United States Constitution. Thank you so much.
Philip G. Hirons Jr., Lakeside Drive. First off, while most of my compatriots here are wearing yellow, I'm in green for a very good reason. This is my coach's shirt for the Smithfield Sportsman's Club rifle team. I have been a coach 23 years. The previous speaker spoke about education. I've lived it. Nearly 800 junior shooters have passed through our program and learned how to safely handle firearms. This year was a milestone. The daughter of one of my first juniors when I joined the program signed up, so I've hit my second generation. The bulk of the URI shooting team passed through our program in Smithfield. It is the single largest junior rifle program in the state. I'm also an NRA instructor, rifle, pistol, shotgun, and a rifle coach. Like I said, I've been doing the education part. This is and I certainly know the subject. This is an overreaching ban. Lieutenant Governor Matos said publicly, the goal is to remove all guns from Rhode Island. This is a step on that path. They've made it clear that's their intention, and they're not going to stop. It was the magazines 2 years ago. It's the number of 90% of the commonly owned fire guns this year. And last, I can't but help remember Miss Cindy Julian, who was one of the leaders of the Rhode Island, the Gun Owners League, the NRA affiliated of Rhode Island, explaining to me a number of years ago why, with all the credentials I brought, when I ran for state senate, I couldn't get the NRA's endorsement. In fact, it went to Council President Tassoni. So I hope, sir, you remember the support of the Second Amendment community when you cast your ballot this evening.
Council, thank you for the time. I'm for an IT guy, my printer broke, so I have to reach for my phone. I hope that's okay. Basically, I oppose this assault weapon for the following reasons. Criminals in particular like these bills, not good citizens. The criminals don't care about these bills. In fact, they would endorse them because it empowers them to make us more of a victim. They don't follow the rules, like myself and everybody here. And the police, well, we have a great police department. I've been affiliated with this town since '66, most of my life. I've always have felt great things about our police, but they can't be in all places at all times to protect us. And more often than not, unfortunately, they are more responsive than proactive. As much as I try as I have, that's just the nature of the police. We need to be allowed to defend ourselves, and gun control disproportionately affects law-abiding citizens who want to use firearms in self-defense. I'd like to ask you a question if you're aware of any of these statistics. Does anybody have any idea in this room or at this council how many times a firearm is used for defensive gun purposes in the United States annually without it being shot, just defensively? Anybody wish to fathom a guess? Anybody at all? The conservative side is over 70,000 times per year. That's the conservative side issued by the National Crime Victimization Survey. Other surveys are over 1 million times a year. It's hard to believe, but it seems to be true. If you think about that for a second, if we're disarmed, we're going to be a lot more victims out there. Criminals are getting the majority of their weapons through the black market. What are we doing about that? I don't know. I'm just asking. I don't have the answer, but I would like to know. What are we doing about items of the black market? Again, there's silence. I don't have an answer. I believe this ban is going to punish responsible individuals like myself who obtain firearms. I actively shoot. I shoot every week, like guys playing golf. I'm 63. I've never been in an officer trouble in my life, and I think maybe if I make 100, God willing, I might do something. But now I'm good. But I have a great group of guys that I go shooting with every weekend. We shoot trap, pistol, rifle, shotgun, muzzle loader. These guys are all lawyers, professionals. I would not associate with them otherwise. I'm a little choked up, so I'm sorry. I think one of the things we should focus on, and I've seen this in my own family, is mental health issues. Fortunately, I mean, I'm a character, but I don't have that. But I've seen mental health issues, and fortunately nothing violent. But I think that's our really number one concern, especially with firearms. When I applied to the town for my pistol permit, I had to go through an extensive background check. I'm perfectly fine with that. They call my primary care physician, needs to sign off with it. I'm A-okay with that, quite frankly. Some people might find that a bit draconian or invasive, but I'm personally fine with something like that. But, and I'm not advocating for it, but I'm just saying I will subject myself to something like that. I haven't really touched about our Bill of Rights, our Second Amendment. We take away our Second Amendment, what we've got left? We've got 9 amendments left from the Bill of Rights that our founding fathers have. I find it hard to believe that they made it the Second Amendment. They didn't just pick the number randomly out of a bingo wall. Right? There's a reason to back up the First Amendment, so people like myself can be here talking in front of you, like you can be there here talking. Anyways, I'm a bit choked up, I'm sorry. Public speaking is not my form. Again, I oppose this ban, and I support Councilwoman Toppy and her proposal. Thank you for your time.
Good afternoon, President of the Zoning Council members. Dan Kiesler, I'm a Smithfield resident. I just want to say thank you for bringing this to the floor tonight. I just left the hearings up at the State House tonight where the House agreed to pass the sub-A resolution. And I just wanted to let you guys know that that's going to put a further burden on our police department, because now if this passed into law, they're going to have to come up with a registration scheme for the, or method of doing the voluntary registrations for your firearms. There's a $50 fee that will be imposed. The legislation says nothing about where that fee goes or who gets it, but our police department will have to collect it, and they will also have to fingerprint and do background checks on everybody that goes. So it's a further unfunded mandate on our town. I appreciate Councilwoman Tavi's explanation, and I would just ask that we know this is a gesture in thought, but it's not really. It's making a statement that as a town council, you support the rights of the many citizens that took the time to come here tonight, and that you believe our rights mean something to you, and I would appreciate it if you guys could pass this tonight.
Good evening, Council President, council members. Paul Santucci, I am a state rep in District 53. I truly appreciate the show of support by having this resolution. Just a few facts that I wanted to provide you with. Between 2007 and 2019, a rifle was used only 2 out of 329 total homicides in Rhode Island. Additionally, assault weapons are even a smaller subsection of rifles. I'm sorry, so a rifle was used only 2 of 329 times. Rifles account for only 3% of firearm-related homicides nationwide. Assault weapons are even a smaller subcategory of rifles. Only a small percentage of assault weapons used in a crime were obtained legally. According to a 2019 U.S. Justice Department study, 90% of state and federal prisoners who possessed a firearm acquired it through non-retail channels such as theft or black market. On the flip side, a ban would deprive thousands of law-abiding citizens from utilizing their preferred method of self-protection. 31.1% of gun owners in the United States have used a gun in self-defense at least once in their life. So again, I think that Councilwoman Tavi did a phenomenal job with this. There's a lot more people that I'm sure want to speak, so thank you for your consideration.
Good evening. My name is Kelly Baker. Here as a psychiatric nurse. I am here.
Where do you live, Kelly?
I currently live in Gloucester, but I did live in Smithfield for 2 years.
Thank you.
I'm here supporting the resolution to oppose the ban. My position is rooted not only in my understanding of public safety, but also in my firsthand experience working with individuals experiencing mental health crisis. As a registered nurse of 22 years, I've dedicated my life to caring for others, preserving life, and promoting health and safety in my community. I strongly support the Second Amendment of the United States, which guarantees the right of people to keep and bear arms and does not exclude certain types of firearms. In my profession, I have witnessed both the best and worst of humanity. I have seen the aftermath of violence, but I also understand deeply that tools are not the root cause of such tragedies. Rather, they are the results of complex societal issues, including mental health illness, poverty, and systemic gaps in education and behavioral health care. While I deeply respect the intent to reduce gun violence and protect our communities, I urge you to consider the broader implications of such a ban. A singular focus on the type of firearm risks overlooking the more pressing and complex drivers of violence, including untreated mental illness, social isolation, substance abuse, and inadequate access to psychiatric care. In my clinical work on a locked acute adult psychiatric unit, I see the devastating effects of under-resourced mental health systems every day. Most individuals with mental illness are not violent. However, for those who may pose a risk, the key to prevention lies not in banning specific weapons, but in early identification, intervention, and appropriate treatment. Restricting the rights of law-abiding citizens will not prevent criminals from obtaining weapons. Instead, it may endanger those who wish only to defend themselves. Many of my colleagues, especially women and frontline workers, feel safer knowing they have the ability to exercise this constitutional right if necessary. In rural areas where emergency response times may be delayed, this right can truly be the difference between life and death. As a law-abiding citizen and woman, I took it upon myself to seek professional firearm training with the the lovely Daria Bruno here. And I learned to shoot accurately and safely using a semi-automatic firearm, and this is the firearm I feel most comfortable carrying concealed on my body with my concealed carry license that she also helped me obtain. Besides giving birth, I would say that learning how to safely shoot a firearm was the most empowering thing I've ever done as a woman, and I encourage all women to learn how to shoot and handle guns safely. There's limited evidence to suggest that banning semi-automatic firearms will significantly reduce crime or mass shootings. Legislative energy and funding would be more effectively directed toward expanding behavioral health services, enforcing existing gun laws, and improving communication between law enforcement and mental health providers. I do support common sense safety measures and education around firearm use, just as we promote safety and preparedness in healthcare. I urge lawmakers and community leaders not to strip away rights that are deeply rooted in our national identity and personal safety. I urge this body to approach this issue with a holistic perspective, one that prioritizes mental health infrastructure, school safety, community engagement, and targeted interventions over broad bans that may not yield the intended results. Thank you for your commitment to public safety and for considering the voices of healthcare professionals on the front lines of this crisis.
Anyone else?
My name is Frank Ritchie, and I am a resident of Smithfield. I do not know if any of you have ever been approached by someone who wanted to do bodily harm. I was there with one of my friends, and the first thing you want to do is you want to escape. You want to go to a room that you can be safe in. You don't want to be confronting people unless they're going to be right in your face. This individual is in my face. We tried to escape, and this person continued to come after me. At that point, I had to confront him. If this happened at my home, I'd have to confront him there. You're taking away my options to defend myself. There was an incident in Providence where a person who was high on everything drove into a gun shop, and the owner there, Mr. DiBiasio, had to put 5 or 6 bullets into this person to stop him. He was all by himself. We only have 10 shots now, okay? After that 10, what if there were 2 people there? I already wasted 5 bullets on that person to take him down, and now the other person is still coming at me. So by you taking away more of our rights and taking away our right to have the correct firearms to take people down, you're going to wind up in a situation that I was at. Fortunately, with my training that I had with martial arts, I was able to chase this person away. I also have the same training with firearms. So I encourage you to support Councilman Tapi and defeat this bill. Thank you.
All right, get my notes together. I'm Daria Bruno, and I am Councilwoman Topi's neighbor. I live in Autumn Run. Thank you for considering this resolution tonight. Appreciate it. No other protected class of people are persecuted as much as the people who want to keep and bear arms according to our Rhode Island and U.S. Constitution. We are not the lawbreakers, yet we are treated as such constantly. And this is never going to end. They'll be back next year, I guarantee you, to take the rest of the 10% that they're going to leave us. And additionally, they're going to put in, there's already one in a bill in the House, but I don't think it's going anywhere. They want to limit how many firearms we can purchase a month, and then there'll be ammunition restrictions too. It's going to come. It's never going to end. This is what they do. So I have a question about this resolution. Does this instruct the Smithfield Police Department not to enforce this bill, this
No,
law?
not at all.
Okay, all right. So this law, and I don't think a lot of people in this room know that this law is also going to ban shooting on any private property. So if somebody is shooting on their private property in Smithfield, will they be hassled?
This is just the resolution is just a statement. It's not
It's just a
like an
statement, it's
ordinance
not-
or anything. It's not
It's
actionable.
just a collective.
Yeah.
It's just a collective, we don't support we don't
Exactly.
support this. Okay.
Exactly. Yep.
Well, with that, I'm urging you to pass this resolution and send a message to the Rhode Island legislature and the governor that we're wading into very dangerous territory. Once the Second Amendment goes, that's it. Thank you for your time.
Good afternoon. I'll be brief with a couple of truisms. You know, when trouble hits.
Can we have your name?
Oh, Glenn Gresco, 432 Log Road, Smithfield. When trouble hits, it hits hard. And you don't have too many choices often. When trouble hits, you know, it happens in seconds. The police will be there in minutes to fill out a report. These fine gentlemen with our police force, they don't carry to protect us. They carry to protect them. We need to protect ourselves. That's all I have to say. Please defend our rights.
Good evening, council members. My name is Patrick Musard. I'm a resident of Greenville, have been for the last 30 years. I'm a veteran of the military. I also served as a federal law enforcement officer. I'm currently a federal employee. In each of those positions, I raised my right hand and I swore to defend the Constitution, just like all of you have. Not parts of the Constitution, all of it. So I hope that you'll take that into consideration when you're looking at this. We all know, we're all Rhode Islanders, we know where this is going, no matter what we say here. So this is your chance to defend us, your constituents, and stand up and say, hey, you guys do what you're gonna do, but we believe that our residents have the right to defend themselves. Thank you very much.
Michael Gilmain, Swan Road. I just want to say that, as you can see, there's a lot of passionate people here about this issue, and none of you, we acknowledge, have introduced or voted on any of the bills in Providence. So you don't really have any skin in the game in this either, as far as that. So you're just looking at it from your own points of view and hopefully seeing what we're seeing. What I want you to reflect on, though, is when you took the oath of office for this position, you swore to uphold the Constitution. That includes the U.S. Constitution and Rhode Island. And everyone knows the Second Amendment. We've heard a lot about that. But how many people know that Article 1, Section 22 of the Rhode Island Constitution simply says the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. That's all it says, those 14 words. It's very straightforward, and I just ask you to think about this and vote based on following your oath of office. Thank you.
Anyone else? Anyone else? Going once? Going twice? Close. Councilwoman Bovis.
Thank you, Mr. President. If there's no further comment from the public, I'd just like to say a few words. I want to share that I really struggled with how I was going to vote for this resolution, not because I don't support the Second Amendment, but because I don't believe that putting a resolution such as this on a town council agenda is really the appropriate forum for this at all, for a local municipality to vote on and hear and deal with. As some of you know and have mentioned tonight, we have absolutely no governing power over the subject matter whatsoever. And, you know, it's budget season right now. We have tax rates being suggested to be risen by the Budget and Financial Review Board. We're being inundated with developments. We have schools that are overloaded. That's the job that you elected us to do. You elected your state reps and your senators to do this job, to deal with these types of subjects. And I'm not saying that this issue is not important. It absolutely is, and I respect the fact that everybody came out here to tell us how important this issue is. I'm just saying I don't believe this is the proper forum for this issue. That being said, we're here, and we're going to vote on it regardless. But I'd be remiss if I didn't say that. Now, I want to fill some people in on my background. For those of you who don't know, I'm a criminal defense attorney, so I see cases involving firearms on a regular basis. And I recognize that there is a need for gun safety and gun education and so on. And to riff off of our Representative Santucci's point regarding the very, very low percentage of crimes that happen with rifles, only 2 out of the 329. To go further, in Rhode Island, there was consecutive years of 0 homicides being committed by rifles, 0 homicides being committed by shotguns. So these are not the types of guns that I see regularly. These types of guns that are being discussed in this Senate bill and this House bill are not the types of guns that, are the guns that people are concerned with crimes. And even though I recognize this need for gun safety and such, I support the Second Amendment, I support the principle of the Second Amendment, and the bill as drafted, it just goes too far, it overreaches, it's not appropriate, and it puts a burden on responsible gun owners. And I know residents have reached out to me, and they have many feelings regarding this topic, and luckily, I know Councilwoman Toppy mentioned 30, I counted about 48 emails in my inbox, and I've spoken with many of you residents personally, some who are here today, on the phone and such, and I respect everyone's feelings, and we also must consider the facts. And besides the facts that I just mentioned, in 2022, there was 37 gun deaths in Rhode Island. 23 of those were suicides. This number of gun deaths, encompassing all deaths regarding guns, that includes accidents, that includes suicides and homicides, and that also includes legal intervention from police in emergency situations, things like that. The state of Rhode Island is ranked in 2022 50th in the entire country for gun violence, meaning the lowest. Like, we have the least amount in the entire country, 50 out of 50. I think right now the statistics were a little bit iffy. We're floating between 42, 48, 50, regardless, low on that list. The averages, based on some of my research, was 51 deaths per year, 119 injuries per year, 66%, again, of which are suicides. It's not crime, it's not violence, it's suicidal deaths, and then regarding teens and children specifically, I know that's a big concern, and I've heard stories over the years. I was a Senate page for a very long time, so every year I'm sitting in the Judiciary Committees watching these. President Tassoni was sitting in the Judiciary Committee at that time, and Senator Archibald too, there after him. So I've heard these arguments for a decade, if not more. And a lot of stories were regarding, a young child gets into some type of safe or whatever, and an accident happens. The deaths in Rhode Island regarding young children are actually so low that Johns Hopkins excluded us from the study. The deaths were so low. I'm not saying they don't happen, they absolutely do. Statistically very low. Now, regardless of my thoughts about this not being appropriate, like I said, we're dealing with it. We are here to take a stand. I don't think the town council should be getting involved in these things. Honestly, I think it's a slippery slope, and I think our legislators are well-equipped to handle these types of things. But we're faced with the opportunity, and I do think it's right to take a stand and to make our voices heard. This bill does put an unduly burden on firearm owners. It does constrict their rights. It is a violation of the Second Amendment, as I read it. It's overreaching. And that's, for those reasons, that's why I will be voting in favor of this resolution. I did just want to qualify with those remarks, because I know, I might feel some differently, and maybe not as one end or the other as some of the people in this room. So I did just want to qualify that. Thank you.
Anyone else?
I just want to thank Council Vice President as well as Councilwoman Toppy for their very thoughtful comments on this. I also, feel uncomfortable with dealing with state issues when they come before the council, because if we dealt with all the state issues out there, we'd spend a lot of time on state issues and not enough time on our local issues. So I appreciate the comments and the time spent on creating those comments by both of our councilwomen. Thank you.
Anyone else? Can I have that young lady who's a nurse come up?
Finally stopped.
You have the right to remain silent. I want to hit on a couple of things that you talked about. I'm the president and CEO of the Substance Use Mental Health Leadership Council. I deal with my 44 agencies with a lot of people with mental health issues. The reason why Butler is on strike for those nurses is because so many of those nurses are being abused, stabbed, punched, and everything else. The state of Rhode Island during COVID got $1.2 billion with a B. You know how much money I got? Zero for mental health and substance use. And it's going to continue to be an issue that the state is going to have to deal with sooner or later. People are sick, and they're getting sicker by the day. Whether it's because of what happened with COVID, the isolation, or what's happening at schools. Last year, I got a phone call with 2 6th graders with alcohol poisoning. Just think of that. That's an 11-year-old child. You brought up another great point about education. We do nothing in this state for education on firearms, substance use, or mental health. So what do? We legalize pot. What do we do in this session? We're legalizing kratom. We're predicating our budget on drugs, alcohol, gambling, and other crazy things that they're influxing into this state. And this is the reason why we're here. I was not going to vote for this because of what I do every day and what I see every day. You all in here are good, responsible gun owners. What I worry about is like what they do at the kitchen table when somebody leaves some fentanyl on the table and a little baby grabs the fentanyl and all of a sudden, boom, he's dead. Whether somebody doesn't lock their gun because they figure, well, I don't need to lock it tonight, and Junior goes in there, takes the gun, puts it in his backpack, next thing you know, he's at the Smithfield High School with a gun. We just spent money on wands for the high school. We never had that when I was in school. I mean, I graduated in 1976. We never had to go for a wand or, I mean, the world is changing. The world is changing. And until the state realizes, you guys should all come on my side and work with me because you do a great job doing your own. But I will tell you, some of the individuals that called me weren't very nice on the phone. They weren't very nice on the phone. But I can take it. I'm a big boy. I'm a big boy. I've been in this game for 16 years. 50% of the people will love you, and 50% of the people will hate you. But if you can call your legislators and tell them to start dumping some money into mental health and substance use, we'll all be better off in this state.
Absolutely.
We'll all be better off.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you for what you do as a nurse.
Thank you.
I hope to God that Butler gets back and they get those people to work because, and I fight the state all the time about training. You have to train these nurses to self-defense themselves.
Yeah, we have
You know?
to
I met
take it upon ourselves to train
Right.
ourselves.
I met a gentleman at the State House the other day, lost his eye because somebody stabbed him in the eye with a pen.
And that's the scary part, you know, nurses are getting assaulted on the units. But, you know, also when you work in a psychiatric unit, you see a lot of the same patients over and over and over. And they remember you. And they look out the window and they see what car you drive and they watch you walk to your car. And I've had colleagues that have stalkers.
100%.
You know, and it's.
Look at that guy at Rhode Island Hospital, that
Yeah.
poor guy.
You
He'll
know,
never work again.
Yep.
The guy
And you know
actually
that-
slammed his head on the ground and he's got brain damage.
And he was let out on bail and he assaulted again.
Right, right.
So,
But
yeah, we have a lot of work
I
to
wanted to
do.
bring that to everybody's attention. It's because it's an issue for the whole state. People with mental illness are not getting the treatment that they need, and now we're looking at more cuts coming out of Washington for Medicare. These people are not going to be able to get treatment.
No.
Right now, a psychiatrist, a child who needs a psychiatrist, it's 1 year before you get to see a doctor.
I believe it.
1 year.
On my unit, we don't even have an actual doctor that's physically on the unit. He's in New Jersey and he sees patients through telehealth. And this is an acute unit, crisis unit, where we're just simply stabilizing patients so that they don't kill themselves, don't hurt someone else, and they have to talk to a doctor on a computer because we don't have enough mental health providers.
Right. So thank you for what you do. I appreciate it.
Thank you
And
for
thank you
what
for
you do.
bringing those topics up.
Thank you.
Councilwoman Toppy, you have a motion?
Yeah, I just wanted to say one sentence. I just want to thank everyone for being here tonight and taking time out of your day to come and support, and the other reason why this is on the agenda. So appreciate you guys. And we already did the motion.
Second. All right, we have a motion, we have a second. Any more discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye. Nays? Ayes have it. Any more public comment? No one in a yellow shirt come up. Just kidding. Brian?
I just want to thank you all for voting on this.
Quiet, please.
And hope and pray that nobody at this table and nobody in this room has to face a person in the business end of a gun like I did 20-some years ago. When I was off the police bar, I didn't have a fire. I had to get my own out of my gun safe and defend myself because they got there, but thank God they got there in time. Thank you.
Motion to adjourn. So moved.
Second, all